Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. You know me. I'm always a serious fella. I have no time to mess around. I talk about the most serious thing on planet Earth. Video games. So today, we are going to get a bit cash. And I'm going to answer a question that people ask me quite a lot. John, what are your most valuable games? And how do we even quantify the word valuable? Well, the Oxford Dictionary says something that's worth a lot of dosh. Not that dosh, this dosh. But I think value is sentimental. For me, value is something that I look at and I have memories of. But don't worry, I am going to talk about dosh value. But for me, a lot of these games, I look at them and I think about the times that I played them, where I was when I played them. When I played Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, I think about when my daughter was born, because I was playing that while she was getting ready to give birth. I'm a good partner. So every game on my shelf pretty much means something to me, and that's probably why I don't really part with them very often, why I don't really sell them. But when I was younger, of course, I think like most kids, I would sell all my games to buy new games, because otherwise I'd just get them on birthdays or Christmases. But when you can just sort of trade them in to get new stuff, the rotation's always going on. But because of that, very few games that I own are from my childhood. They're ones that I've reclaimed over time. And I'd say when I was around 16 and got a part-time job for the first time, when I was living with my parents with no bills to pay, and all I had was the stress of going to college 5 days a week and then working the 2 remaining ones while maintaining a relationship and friendships. What an easy time that was. That was when I started buying more and more games and properly collecting. And I was raised very much on the Wii Virtual Console 2 with NES and Super Nintendo, and Master System and Mega Drive. And because of that, I've got a lot of games that came before my era, because the games I played there, I collected in physical form. And I've gone further back than that with Atari and all of that stuff. So while I may be a young, springing 95 person, that's not 95 years old, that's the year, 1995, I have accumulated stuff that does come before my era, and I still love them, because I have played them just like anyone would have, who was born when they came out. And one big thing to say before we get into this, is because I started collecting in around 2010, 2011, the retro boom had started, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. So back then, in the year 2006, you can watch a classic Game Room video where they're like, Truxton, this goes for 5 nickels and a pocket of lint. And back then, that was so true. You can go on eBay and find copies of Metroid for £5. But now, Metroid's worth £65, £70, more than that maybe. And in the year 2011, inflation had begun, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. So Metroid then was £20, and so building a collection wasn't that intimidating. And I feel so sorry for anyone starting a GameCube collection right now, because the nostalgia wave has hit that system like a wave. And so even the most basic games that I consider to be pillars of the system that everyone should have access to are stupid amounts, way more valuable than they should be. Games like The Thousand Year Door that's just something every GameCube fan should own and play. But you can't, because it's stupidly expensive. But yeah, most of my collection came before that point. I don't really spend much on games. I get lucky, I look around for deals, but it's very rare that I'll spend more than £30 on a retro game. But there is still stuff that is valuable in there. So without further ado, let's start with the very first game that I don't have near me, so let me go and get it. Okay, I've got it, but first, I want to just put forward a few rules. So, I don't want to talk about, 1, limited editions, because while this is pretty rare, because there's no actual physical version of Maiden of Blackwater on Wii U, other than this European exclusive limited edition, I don't want to talk about limited editions, because the point of those is to be limited. They're always going to be rare. And the same goes for limited run prints like these. This is a fan gamer, but still, the point remains. I don't want to talk about stuff that was manufactured to be rare, to be valuable. I want to talk about stuff that became valuable just for being what it is. Maybe they had low prints, but it wasn't the point of why it's valuable. So I looked through my collection, and trying to find the value of everything is tough. There's lots of games that are worth over 100, there's lots of games around 150. But there's only a few that I found that really exceeded the 200 level. So my first one, let me just get the value up for this one, is an N-Gage game. So I had a period in my life where I was pretty into just collecting obscure stuff. and I got an N-Gage QD, and a handful of games. I got like Sonic N, which is like the Sonic Advance port, with like a really narrow aspect ratio. Rayman 3, again, the same thing, is another GBA port. And I got something that was exclusive to N-Gage as well. And this is the Elder Scrolls Travels Shadow Key. And when I got this, it wasn't expensive. I think I paid like £20, maybe? This was way before any kind of big retro N-Gage boom. There's somehow an N-Gage scene now. But this is an exclusive Elder Scrolls game made exclusively for the N-Gage. And it's proper first-person adventure. There's dungeon crawling, there's towns, and the frame rate is awful. But still, it's really impressive for the system. Like we had the GBA at the time that was delivering all these like beautiful 2D games, but Shadow Key is a full-fledged 3D adventure, and it really does push the system incredibly far. In fact, there's even like co-op modes in here too. So for a franchise as big as Elder Scrolls, with Skyrim and Oblivion, and the upcoming one, Elder Scrolls 6, to have something in history that was exclusive to a failure mobile system, I think's fascinating. And my N-Gage broke a long time ago, so I can't play this right now. I've got to try and replace it at some point. But it is just one of the weirdest games in my collection, and I do value it. In fact, the back of the box is funny. It says, battle 65 different monsters. Explore 18 different levels. And I do wonder if the subtitle, Travels, meant that this was meant to be a series. I mean, maybe they thought the N-Gage would be bigger than it was, but instead, the Travels series ended at Shadow Key. But yeah, that's my 5th most valuable game. Let's move on to another one, which I also do not have near me. Give me a sec. Okay, so this one is probably one of the more common valuable games. I don't know if I can exactly call it rare, but it's definitely not like something you'll find in every store, of course, but it's something that a lot of collectors do have, and that is Earthbound. In fact, it's always behind me. There's probably stuff back there you never see, really, but it's always behind this chair. Earthbound means a lot to me, so I always heard good things about Earthbound, but I kind of just knew the franchise as Ness. It's that kid in Smash. But then it came to Wii U Virtual Console, and I finally jumped at the chance to play Earthbound, and I just played that thing to death until the early hours of the morning. I was just devouring every aspect. It's just so cozy. You know, it's a game that takes the formula of something like Dragon Quest, but adopts it into a modern setting. And it just works so well, and it hasn't aged a day. So many components are still so modern. Like, if you're over-leveled, you just win the fight without having to go in and waste time. If you sell equipment, they can just say, like, oh, do you want to equip this now and sell what you were wearing just then? Like, it's just so good with its quality of life features, and it still feels like a game that could have released today. Now, I loved this so much that my fiancée, we were at university at the time, and she just saw how much I was enjoying Earthbound. And so for Christmas, she got me a copy of this game. And I know you're thinking, like, now this game is worth, I'm seeing listings between £300 and £500. We didn't get it for that much. I think she paid maybe £100, which is still a lot, but the value has increased a ton in recent years for Earthbound. And this isn't the big box version with the, the guide and the smell stuff, but it is just a loose cartridge, and even this is worth, yeah, £500, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I adore this game. It really is the pillar of the Super Nintendo. And it's great Nintendo are starting to embrace it with the Super Nintendo Classic, and Wii U Virtual Console, and 3DS Virtual Console, and NSO. So it's great that people can experience Earthbound, even if a physical cartridge is worth quite a bit of money. Okay, so my 3rd most valuable game is one of the only sealed games I've got in my collection. And if you're unfamiliar with what this is, you'll probably be like, what? But this is Nintendo 3DS Louvre Guide, the English version. And if you remember, there was a Nintendo Direct for this. Just Iwata and Miyamoto roaming around the Louvre together. And basically, the story of this is Nintendo partnered with the Louvre. And in 2020, I went to visit Paris, right before the big outbreak of COVID. I went to visit Paris with my partner, and we went to the Louvre, and they were still running this program. People were still roaming around in the year 2020 with 3DSs that they rented out from the Louvre that guided them around and showed them artwork and described what it was. And there's audio details, there's models you can rotate and get like closer looks at. So This physical version is rare though. They sell this in the Louvre gift shop, so right after you finish you can go into the gift shop, and when I was there, they had a whole stack of them. From what I gather, that's not common. From what I gather, they very rarely have them anymore. And I'm curious if they still stock them. I'm curious since COVID if they have the 3DS program still running, especially because the 3DS is like 11 years old at this point. But yeah, I got this in the gift shop, and they had all these other languages. There was German, there was Japanese, there was French, and there was English. A lot of European games have all the languages on one cartridge, but as you can see right there, this one is specifically English. And the fact that it's English makes it valuable, because the other languages go for around £100, like German and Japanese, but the English one is worth around £450. And I say around because I'm not entirely sure, because there's no listings on eBay right now, and the only copy that's sold this year is that one there, that's sold for £450. But I reckon you probably could charge more for this, because it just seems very uncommon and valuable, and it's probably the rarest 3DS game, I'd say. I mean, you can only buy it in one place in the world, being the Louvre, so yeah. I think this is probably my rarest game. Like, there's games that are worth more, but I don't think more were printed than Louvre in English. So, yeah, this is a cool one. It doubles as both a souvenir for me, and just a really cool, obscure game. And I'll never open it, because I've got the digital version on 3DS, which you can download from the eShop, until that thing closes. But for now, yeah, that thing's down there. So, I'm not quite sure how to rank the next two, because they're very, very similar in price. I guess let's go with this one first. So this always sits behind me, and I got a pretty good story for this one. So this is Hideo Kojima's Snatcher for Mega CD, the European Sega CD. And how I got this was basically when I was in university, I was trying to find just good deals, and so I was starting to dip my toe in other places. I tend to just buy games on eBay, but I tried out Gumtree for the first time, and I just typed in Sega to see what would come up, like many Mega Drive games, Dreamcast games, Saturn games. What I didn't expect was to see a listing that said Mega CD, Catcher. Not Snatcher, Catcher. So they made a big typo, and because of that, people weren't really jumping at their listing. And it wasn't just Catcher, it was a full Mega Drive with Mega CD unit, so the Model 2, and it was also a bunch of other games, Earthworm Jim CD, Night Trap. There was all these other Mega CD games bundled in for £200. And this game, back then, was worth £200 on its own. And so I thought, if I don't take this opportunity to buy Snatcher now, I'm gonna regret it. I could go and sell everything else that he's offering and keep Snatcher and probably make a profit. I didn't do that. I kept everything, but just the fact that this was going for so cheap was insane to me. And like £200 isn't cheap, but having everything bundled in absolutely made it cushioned the blow. And Earthworm Jim CD alone, that's worth £100, probably more than that. So yeah, this is bonkers, and I'm a huge Kojima fan. I've played every game he's ever released, apart from Police Knots. I've got to do that someday. But Snatch is just this incredible, I want to say visual novel. There's also some like light gun elements, you can use a controller, but it's just this wonderful story, and I think Metal Gear fans will get a lot out of it too, because that thing that Otacon uses to communicate in MGS4, that robot, that's a character in this game that comes from here. And the soundtrack's so good, the artwork, it's just an incredible game. And there's never been an English version apart from the Sega CD version. There's been numerous re-releases in Japan, but this is the only English release of Snatcher. And I adore this game. Very proud to own it. So this goes for around $350 to $700. And that's a huge range. That's double. That's double the base amount. I've seen it go for a lot. It's hard to say how much it's really worth, but I'd say let's go in the middle, like 500 maybe for the Snatcher these days. And it seems that price is just going up and up and up. And if Kojima is revealed to be working on a new game soon, I reckon it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up until it never ends. But yeah, this is an incredible game, and I will always treasure Snatcher. Okay, so my most valuable game is one people comment on quite a lot, because this is always in the background, and people are like, dude, you're just talking about, like, Nintendo games, and you've got freaking Panzer Dragoon Saga in the background. But here we go, Panzer Dragoon Saga. This is, I believe, the greatest Saturn game. It is the pinnacle of the console, and it hurts so much that people can't play it, because it's so expensive, and there's never been a re-release, and they've lost the source code. But I truly believe that this is an essential RPG, and I know that sounds so bad to say, because how can it be essential when people can't play it? But it's just so good. This is the Saturn's Final Fantasy VII. It's a remarkable game. So I got this from my fiancée again. She, like, shout out to Roxy. Basically, she was trying to get invested in my hobby, I think, at one point. I'd come home from work, and she'd be watching, like, Happy Console Gamer and Metal Jesus, and I think she was just trying to find, like, retro hidden gems for me. And for Christmas, without, like, telling me, she got me Panzer Dragoon Saga. And back then, again, the value was lower. The value was much lower. I think she paid 200, which is, again, that's a lot of money for a Christmas present. But compared to what this is valued at now, it's slim pickings. The box is a bit tattered. Like you can see, there's a lot of wear on the cardboard sleeve. But if we just sort of pop this out, one sec, let me do this gently. Don't want it to fall apart. Basically, everything is intact. This comes on 4 different discs, and they're sort of just chucked into these different boxes that fit into the cardboard sleeve. And yeah, I'm sure the American version's a bit different. That comes in a regular plastic case, but this one got a bit of a special treatment on in Europe. I just adore Panzer Dragoon. It's one of my favourite series. The first one, Zwei, Orta. They're so incredibly well made, and for those who've not really heard of it before, it's basically a rail shooter, apart from you can rotate around and view different angles. So you're always going forward, but you can look to the left and the right and behind you, and you've got to, like, shoot everyone. There's a radar that you can keep track of to see where they are. It's just keeping all your senses intact while going on this high-speed ride with a dragon, and it's just so well made. But Saga took the time to make things slower, to stop and appreciate the world more, because the world building in Panzer Dragoon, and the design, and the art, and the music, is just incredible. And to be able to really dive in, and take everything in, and breathe in what they've made, is what this game enables you to do. You can go to towns, you can really engage with the story and the locations in a way that the rail shooters don't quite do. And in that regard, it's so well done. And they keep the directional inputs intact for combat. So you're still, like, keeping in mind what's to your left, what's to your right, but in the context of a turn-based game. So sometimes your turn is just moving, just looking in a different direction, and your enemies work in the exact same way. I've really got to give this its own video at some point, because it is an incredible game. One of the very best ever made. And, I guess I couldn't really cherish a more valuable game than Panzer Dragoon Saga. But I want to hear your most valuable pieces in your collections. I just love hearing about and seeing that stuff. I love binging collection tour videos and game room tours. So if you follow me on Twitter, show me pictures of your most valuable things, and I will give them a like and a snarky comment. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I know this is much more casual than usual. I am still planning and producing much more scripted content. But I just wanted to talk about this stuff, because this is another hobby of mine. Beyond just playing games, I love collecting games. I love going into stores and trying to find deals and finding crazy bargains. Like one time I walked into a charity shop and I found God Hand for £1. That's worth like £80. And in fact, I've got a little story to tell. When my partner, who's the basis of all my stories apparently, she volunteered in a charity shop for around a year, and I discovered something horrifying. So the people there, they were much older, they didn't really understand that people want old games. And so when older games were donated in, they would often throw them away. So one person donated a box of Mega Drive games, and my partner was like, oh yeah, let's put them out. People will love this stuff, it'll go quickly. And the people working there were like, but it's old. What's a Mega Drive? It's all about the Xbox 360. And so she was like, no, like showing like eBay listings, showing how much this stuff is worth. And they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe that it was worth that much. And so they salvaged it. They put them out on store shelves. At a much lower price than what they were going for online. But it allowed me to go in and pick up some of this stuff. So I got games like Ghouls and Ghosts and Shining in the Darkness for, I want to say like £5, and they're worth way more than that. But, so not only can I give to charity, but I can get some good deals out of there. So that was cool. So if you ever go into charity shops, or like thrift stores maybe, in the States, you might be thinking like, where's all the good stuff? Why is it just FIFA and Madden on the shelves? Well, the reason for that might be because they don't think that the stuff that we want is the stuff that is gonna sell. And that boggles the mind. But yeah, terrifying story. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you later. You specifically. I'll catch you later. Hey, thank you for watching the whole thing! This video was made possible by our wonderful supporters over on Patreon. Patrons can see our larger videos the day before they go live, play games with us, get personalized videos, and also join the live studio audience on What's That Track? So consider becoming a patron yourself. There's lots of good stuff, but anyway, thank you for watching. See you later.